And we should be live. Let me know in the chat whether you can hear me properly. Welcome everyone. We've got about 10 minutes, before to start. Hi Pisas, hi Natalie, welcome Tish, welcome Herbie, and welcome everyone. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me properly. If anyone was completely new to me, if you're wondering what's happening, we are live from Nice in France. We've got about 10 minutes before to go. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. And welcome Matthew and Catherine and everyone. Some of you might know the drill. I'm gonna have to test the microphone. I'll just tap it 3 times. You should have heard 3 taps. Let me know in the chat if you've heard that. Hi Satyam, and welcome everyone that just joined. We've got a few minutes before to start. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. We'll kick off at 7 p.m. French time. So probably 6 in the UK, maybe 12 in some part of America. You can hear me, perfect. Thank you, Tish. So most of you know the drill already, but this is a live stream, so anything could happen. You could have some micro cuts as well if the signal drops. And if you're watching the replay, if you want to skip the next 8 minutes, you can go straight into the live walk. If you want to skip the hellos. And if you're watching the replay and you're wondering how to join the live next time, you can hit the little notification bell. 10 a.m. in Arizona. Well, the temperature is nearly a temperature for you, Matthew. It's, in Fahrenheit, it's above 90, I think that'll be. It's 34 Celsius at the moment, so that's probably something you get quite often in Arizona. I guess that's about 90 something, maybe 96 Fahrenheit. 6 minutes, thank you, Natalie. The sound is good, says Ronnie, perfect, thank you. Thank you, Herbie. Right, let me give you a glimpse of the view again in case you get bored of my face. There's a boat coming into the port down there. And there's a cruise ship in the distance. So yeah, it is very hot. Hi Linda, welcome everyone. I had to adapt the route a little bit. I was gonna finish inland by the train station, but I'm not sure it's a good idea. I think at the end of the tour it's better to be on the seafront because at least there's a bit of breeze, a little bit of air that will refresh the phone as well as the gimbal, because we don't want any of the above to overheat and stop working. I had my phone overheating once in West Norwood Cemetery, and it was not even that hot. And the gimbal went crazy last year. You might remember the same weekend actually. That's when I came for my sister's wedding in Marseille. From the first minutes actually. So none of the electronics actually enjoyed the heat. Très belle, says Natalie. Do you mean the view? Or do you mean my face? Beautiful view, says Satyam. So we've got a few minutes, about 5 minutes to go. You have the rain. Well, we had a bit of rain an hour ago. I'm probably the only weirdo with an umbrella in my back pocket. But, I had to be ready, just in case. Both. Thank you, Tish. So this is the port. We're not gonna go down that way. We'll go down towards the Promenade des Anglais and all that, so on the other side. But I wanted to show you the view before we go anywhere else. Hi Mitzi, and welcome everyone that just joined. We still have about 3-4 minutes, I think. There's a little boat going for a day trip. Oh. That's probably the best place to be with this temperature. On a boat at sea, able to jump anytime. Hi, Nikki. For those of you that were with me the other day, you know, when we talked about the fugitive, the family killer, Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès, there's one sighting I didn't tell you about. There's a little street just there, excuse my finger, where he was, well, allegedly, I mean, they might have been mistaken, but some people believe they've seen him in a little pizza. It's a little pizzeria, takeaway place down there. So, you know, he could have come through Nice to go down to the airport to catch a flight to go to New York. There was a flight to New York, actually, on that day. Or anywhere else, like me tonight. That's where I'm flying from Nice. All the way down to Stansted with Ryanair. Yes, Ava, it's extremely hot, not so much here. It's still all right here. There's a heat wave on the rest of the country, but for here, the temperatures are hot, but not that unusual. Oh, I'm glad you found us, Gianni. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's a bit on YouTube. The way not to miss them is to actually click the notification bell on all of them. And welcome 1234. The documentary, I've missed it. Do you mean about Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès? Hold on, where is it? Oh, I've missed it now. Oh, yeah. Yes, Nice is nice. Or nice is Nice, who knows? Let's see what time it is. 1 minute to go, 1 minute before we officially kick off. I don't know anything about those nice biscuits, Herbie. It is officially time. Thank you, Natalie. And without further ado, let's go. So let's flip the camera around and let's go for a little live walk in Nice. Now, this is the port of Nice, a beautiful place, but that's not where we're heading to. We're heading down to the other side. So at the moment, we are in a little park. It's called, Colline du Château, Castle's Hill. As you might notice soon enough, there's no castle here, but there used to be. There used to be a castle. It was destroyed, sadly. Louis XIV because it was, well, you can see from the view, it's a great space for a fortification. And sadly, it was never rebuilt. You still have a few archaeological sites and everything. It was already a place of great importance before that. Nice was created by the Greeks. At the time of Marseille, Massilia, a Greek city, they had a little settlement here. So Nice, I'm afraid to tell you, is not named because it's nice. It is, but it's actually, the name actually comes from Nicaea. That was the goddess of victory. You know, like Nike or Nike, however you pronounce it. You know the brand? It's named after the Greek goddess of victory. So that's exactly the same for Nice. So it's not because it's nice. Well, it's a nice city. I don't think the beach is the nicest because it's pebbles, you know, like actually quite painful. But it's beautiful. And it was, Nice was not always French. It was actually annexed to the country in 1860. Before that, it belonged to Piedmont, Sardinia. You might say Italy, but not Italy as we know it today. Italy didn't exist as a country back then. Although some Italians would tell you we should give Nice back, which is quite ridiculous. I mean, we're not rewriting history, are we? I mean, if anything, it's a Greek city. Are we going to give it back to Greece? No. But yeah, at the time of Napoleon, not the first one, not the Napoleon from Waterloo and the Duke of Wellington and all that, but Napoleon III, that was his nephew. He actually, I think what happened is that he helped the Italians with the unification of Italy, and they made a deal. That was a bit of a dodgy deal, but that was a deal anyway. To in exchange, he would get Nice, and Nice is still French today. They never really spoke Italian anyway. They were speaking Nissard, which is a bit like Provençal today. Although no one really speaks much Provençal today, but it's quite similar. Now I'll just show you another little view of the port, and then we'll head towards the other side. Now, down that way, you've got a lovely view towards the east. So you can see for a fortification here, that was a great spot because you'd see so far away. Because of course you used to have a lot of pirates as well, like Turkish pirates or even Moroccan pirates. So you could see them coming. So down that way you'll go down towards Monaco, Menton, and of course Italy. But we're going down west towards the English Promenade. Now get ready for quite a view. So the bay is called La Baie des Anges, the Angels Bay. Straight ahead, that's the so that bit is the Promenade des Anglais, but this is actually the United States Keys. I think it used to be called Quai du Midi, but at the beginning of the century, in 1917, they renamed it the United States Keys to basically say thank you to the US for joining the First World War. Now there's a nice little painting from François Bensade on here. That's a view of the bay from here. Now let's go down. And we're lucky to be going down, not up. There is a lift, it's free, but I think it closes at 6 or maybe even 5, but probably 6. And I arrived at 6:05, so I had to climb up. I did take the lift earlier with my dad today when I came and walked the route, but we wouldn't take the lift down anyway, even if it was open, because there's no signal in the lift. And there's a beautiful view all along. Can I see Corsica? No, I would. I don't think you can ever see it, even on a good day. Corsica is actually quite. It's the thing is, I don't know if you look at the maps, but in France we're actually quite used to see it, because when you see the forecast on French television, they actually bring Corsica a bit closer on the map, so it fits on the map, you know. But it's actually a bit further than it seems on those, at least those forecast maps. I guess you only see them in France, but I don't think, maybe on a very, very clear day, but I doubt it. You can take the ferries though. I've taken the ferry once. That was fun. There was an overnight ferry, and someone got a bit drunk and someone grabbed the microphone in the middle of the night, waking everyone. And my friend thought it was me. I mean, I did go into the captain's thing, but I didn't grab the microphone. It wasn't me. Unless I was so drunk, I don't remember, I don't know. Because we didn't buy, you can buy a ticket with an actual bedroom, or you can just sleep on the floor, on the seats and everything. That's what we did, but I didn't sleep much. Nikki says, I'm going to sound so ignorant, but I never think of the sea when France comes up. Well, there's a lot to see in France. So here we are on the French Riviera, which is known for beautiful beaches and beautiful Provençal villages by the sea. There's no definition of what the French Riviera actually is. In French, it would be called Côte d'Azur. But I found out yesterday, because my parents and I didn't agree on where it starts, because I used to live in La Ciotat, which is close to Marseille. And I believed it to be on the French Riviera because I had seen some advertising, some kind of promotional touristy campaign from the city saying it was the first town of the French Riviera. And my mom was like, no, it's much further. And my dad was like, no, I think it's there. And then I double checked everywhere on ChatGPT and everything. And apparently there's no definition of where the French Riviera starts. We know where it finishes. It finishes in Italy, basically. But all this coast is absolutely beautiful. So there's no official answer, but the almost official answer, it's that it starts in Saint Raphael. So that's where we were 2 days ago, basically. Well, we were on Roquebrune-sur-Argence, but that's where my parents now live, in Saint Raphael. It's about probably an hour on something on the motorway, or 2 hours away if you take the beautiful road by the sea. You go through Cannes and everything. I am indeed mid-sea. Now let's go down. If you see a lot of people filming like myself, it's probably normal. There's a content creator festival in Cannes at the moment. I think it's all week. I was there yesterday by accident. Well, I knew it was on because YouTube had asked me if I was gonna go, because then they probably would have invited me to the YouTube tent or anything. And I knew it was on. I checked the prices. I was like, nah, this is too much. So I didn't go. And then yesterday I completely forgot, and I told my parents, oh, should we go for a walk in Cannes? And then it was packed with Google, Gemini, Pinterest, Canvas, everyone was there. Meta, of course, on all the platforms. So there are a lot of influencers and content creators from all across the globe that are on the French Riviera this week. I don't particularly love Cannes anyway. The sand is better, the beach is better than here, but as a city, I don't think it's as beautiful as Nice, really. Yes, beautiful view. And the sea is shining with the sun. We are actually lucky, it was grey an hour ago. We even had a few drops of rain, so I ran to the car to get the umbrella. And now it doesn't look like I'll need it, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. Now, the other thing uphill, I'll wait until we are done to show you the video, maybe, because I don't want to take you away from the view, but there's also a cemetery on the hill itself. Well, actually, two cemeteries, one Catholic and one Jewish cemetery. And I don't know whether the Catholic one actually still takes any new burials, but I think the Jewish one does. And there's a very famous writer that is buried there. You might or might not know his name, but you might know some of his characters. Well, you know what, we are nearly done, so I'll show you the video now. I just need to check where I'm stepping. Hold on, bear with me. To be on a... Let me show you the video of the cemetery. Do you recognize this little character? It is Asterix from Asterix and Obelix. So René Goscinny, the writer of Asterix, is actually buried there. his death was shocking me. He was I try to avoid people on camera, so when you are on tiny streets and it's busy, it's hard not to film anyone. So anyway, yeah, Goscinny, you might, obviously his most famous character is Asterix on Obelix. Asterix, that's 59, I think, 1959. But let me show you some other characters from him. Apologies, I'm a bit slow. It's very difficult to see anything with that sun on the screen. Oh, there we go. There we go. So you can see Lucky Luke. He was helping with the writing on that. Le Petit Nicolas, that's not really much known internationally, but that's big. And he's no good. And the other one, the black and white Native American character, I've never read that one. I don't know. Oh, crap. My phone is giving me some warnings that it's overheating. So basically get ready for anything. I'm not gonna do anything, there's nothing I can do, but if at any point you lose me, you know why, don't get worried. I've not had an accident, it's just because my phone is telling me it's overheating. I knew that could happen, but there's nothing we can do to cool it down really, apart from stopping the stream. Anyway, so this is the, technically we are not yet on the Promenade des Anglais, we are on the Quai des États-Unis, so that's the US Keys, and here is the beautiful Nice beach. The image is in slow motion. I'm sorry, that's probably because of the overheating, because it's telling me it's gone into protection setting to improve live stream performance. I guess that's probably what they have to do. The thing is, I don't know how it's gonna get any better. Yeah, it's literally giving me a warning in the middle of my screen with a red flashing out. But you know what? Let's keep going. That's all we can do. Hopefully, I mean, we're gonna turn inland. We might be in the shade for a while, but can you still hear me okay though? Oh, it's better now, okay. Good. Yeah, there could be the signal as well. It could be a mix of everything, but it's giving me warning from the heat. Now, this is the beach, so it's a lovely place, and you know, you could go for a cocktail and at the back and go back for a swim and stuff, but those pebbles are not the most comfortable. We do have some nice sandy beaches, not too far away. Oh, it's all fine. Okay, perfect. Good. So it's still giving me warning. So you know, if at any point I go missing, you know why. Now let's keep going. See straight ahead, the spiky thing there. That's a weird statue. That's where we'll turn. It's actually been placed there to celebrate the 150 years since Nice was added to France. So that would have been in 1860. And as we go down the city center, you might notice the architecture looking a bit Italian. That's because it is. As simple as that. Although again, Italy was not a country quite yet. So. Oh, they've imported a bit of nice sand here for the beach volley. So yeah, it's been very hot over the last few days, especially in the rest of the country. It's very sad actually, because a lot of people died. 13 died of drowning because they swam in dangerous places because they wanted to refresh. a lot of them were teenagers, so that's a bit sad. But you know, it's not only France; it's a bit warm everywhere. But in some part of the countries, it's been ridiculously warm, including Paris, I think, and parts of Brittany and the center of France. Here, 34 Celsius in June. It's not. I mean, it's hot, but you know, last year when I was here, it was the same. And here at least we can jump in the sea. We don't have to jump into dangerous rivers or fontaines or wherever the accidents happened. One of them was actually a boy that jumped in to save his mate, but he didn't make it either. They both died. Hi Mike, and welcome everyone that just joined. Now we are gonna leave the beach to go down the city center because I wanna show you a bank. I wanna show you a bank where we had the heist of the century. It was in 76. The bank will see the building. It's still there. It's still a bank. It's the Société Générale. And you know, in the basement they had those little lockers, you know, that people could rent and put anything they want in there. So of course you had a lot of jewelry, but it could be anything. People would, you know, some people would put some photos or stuff that they don't want to disappear if their house was on fire, or some people would even have a bottle of alcohol because their wife didn't want them to drink, and they'll sneak into the bank and grab their bottle and have a shot. There she is. So you don't need to go all the way down to New York. You can just come here to Nice. I'll show you the plaque. Right, let's go. So yeah, so you had the bank, a bit like you might remember when we were down in King's Cross. I told you about the heist, the Hatton Garden heist that was committed by older people in London. That was in 2015. I mean, we're going back much further in time for this one here. But you know, the same thing with the bank and those little lockers down there that you could hire. And what happened is that on that spot on the main street, you have the public sewer that was about 8 meters away from the basement of the bank. And well, the thieves had noticed that, and they started to dig up a tunnel from the sewers. There's actually a former river here that was covered, and that was the sewer, so you could get in fairly easily from that river entrance. Well, of course, it's a dirty job, worth, I mean, if you make it, you know, worth the smells. They actually made a movie about the heist about 20 years ago now. It was called, well, it would translate into Sewer to Paradise or Sewer to Heaven. Anyway, so they'd been digging for weeks. Very organized though, because they didn't want anyone to hear, especially once they got closer to the bank. So they had kind of blocked off the sewer thingy, and they went down with oxygen masks and everything. And let me cross over. Bear with me, I'm just gonna run. So this way, we should be in the shade. Hopefully, oopsie. Hopefully it might be a little bit cooler for the camera. Who knows? Or for the phone, I should say. It's still giving me warnings, but who knows? So yeah, anyway, they've been digging and quite well organized. They had those highly, and welcome everyone. They had those. Let me show you those oxygen thingy. So this is the police officer bringing back up all the gear they had in the sewer. So with the oxygen thing and everything. And eventually there was a bank holiday weekend. I think that was the weekend right after the 14th of July, you know, so that's the national day in France. And well, they took everything they wanted. They opened a lot of those little lockers, and apparently, obviously, they couldn't take everything, so they settled with a pro, because you could see that they had settled the little table inside of the basement of the bank with a professional looking at the rings and the diamonds and everything, dropping the ones that were not of great value. And dropping all the other random items, you know, everywhere. They left with, well, to be honest, the figures, it's quite hard to translate into today's money, but I read that it would be about 46 million of euro in today's money. Obviously, at the time, it was the old francs, so different value, but a massive amount of money that was never ever recovered. Now let me give you a view of the place, Masséna. So yeah, the money was never ever recovered. Some of the guys were caught, but and there was a sign inside of the bank. They had placed a sign that said "Ni coup de feu, ni violence, ni haine." So no gun being fired, no violence, no hatred. I don't know why no hatred. That's a bit strong, but that was true. You know, they didn't hurt anyone, and they became some kind of well, almost like local heroes. You know. Let's have a quick view at the statue before we go much further. I think it's Apollo. So, you know, we could be anywhere in Italy and it would look quite similar. So 2011, this statue. Now let's go. Just gonna cross again, bear with me. So yeah, they'd left a little sign and they'd obviously run out with the money and the jewelry and everything. A few days earlier, in a different town, there was a little group of a few guys that looked very dodgy. Oh, here is the tram. The tram is fairly new. It's been only about less than 15-20 years anyway. So we are bringing a lot of the trams back in many cities in France. Really, they're becoming fashionable again. I mean, they're very convenient, and you know, it's much better than traffic. René is asking what year was the robbery? 1977. 1977. Oh no, sorry, 1976. 77 is the murder I'll tell you about in a second. So 1976, it's the Société Générale. It was dubbed the heist of the century in French, le casse du siècle. And I'll show you the building. It's just behind the Galerie Lafayette, just here. The pink building, so that's the Galerie Lafayette. It's a department store. It's like, I don't know, Fortnum & Mason or anything like that. Let me cross over. They've got those interesting statues up there on the pillars with some kind of a Greek feeling to it as well, but they look like Buddhas, or at least yoga positions. I don't think that's what they're meant to represent, but yeah, they look like naked men doing yoga. Now let me flip the camera around so you can see all those people enjoying a little drink at the terrace. But yeah, if you didn't know where you were, sorry, I've just caught the cable in my sweaty arms. Yeah, if you just did a screenshot of that, you could be in Italy. You could even be in some part of Spain. It doesn't look the Frenchest. Now back to the east. So 76, and those four dodgy characters, they had been spotted in a villa, in a house that didn't belong to them. The neighbors had called the police because they looked like squatters or burglars or whatever. So the police had turned up, and they'd confronted those men. They were like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "Oh, we're trying to rent it." And the police were like, "Come on, what are you doing here?" "Yeah, no, we're trying to rent it. It's a guy on the port that gave us the key." And the police officers were like, "You're talking crap." I mean, And eventually they were like, "Okay, take me to the port, take me to the guy." And as the police drove those men to the port, one of them ran ahead. He went into a restaurant. He hugged the guy. He told him something very quickly. And the guy was like, yeah, I've given them the keys. They might when I run the place. I mean, it looked dodgy, really, but the police officers couldn't do much. I mean, everyone confirmed the story, so they left it as that. And then apparently someone told them, they had a lot of informants, the police officers. Someone told them, take a look at those, keep an eye on those guys, they're planning something big. And that was it. But they had taken their names. Well, one of them had given them a fake name, but obviously after the heist, the police went back to those guys because the villa was just above Nice, on the mountains, and they believed it was linked, and it was. They, as they got into the villa, they found a lot of mud that was analyzed, and it would have had come from the sewers here. Well, when I say mud, probably feces, really, but that was proved that it was the same guys, or those guys had been part of the heist at least. So this is the building. This is the Société Générale, so that's a bank still today. And the public sewers would have been just there under our feet, in the middle of the street. So they basically dug tunnels about 8 meters from the sewer into the bank. Now let's go down this side. Now, this is not the end of the story, far from it. So those 4 guys, or 5, or however many they were caught by the police, and the police was like, give us a name. And eventually they snitched. They said it's Spigiari, Albert Spigiari. He was a local man of Italian origin, but he was from here. Well, from here actually, not far from here. And the Spigiari guy was caught. They didn't find anything on him. They didn't find any of the goods that had been stolen. And once they searched his property, though, they found a lot of guns. So they had enough munitions in general. So they had enough to take him down for that. Him and his wife actually. And they said to him, "You better confess. This way we can let your wife alone." And And eventually he did. He said, "Okay, it's me. I'm the brain of the operation. That's me. I've done it." And he was taken to. He actually planned an escape. His mate was waiting on a scooter, on a moped, as he went to see the judge. When I said a judge, I mean it's like a magistrate. Well, it's what in France we would call juge d'instruction. It's not actually a judge as such. It's the guy kind of maneuvering the police operation. So he went to see the magistrate, and he's on the first floor of the Palais de Justice here in Nice. And he didn't know his mate was there waiting on a scooter, but he actually, because there was some miscommunication there, but he looked over the window and he saw his mate, and then what he claims is that he told the magistrate some stuff that would potentially mean that he was gonna incriminate him in some dodgy dealing. So the magistrate he told the police officers to leave the room. There were a lot of dodgy, I mean, if it's not mafia or corruption, but there were a lot of politicians doing some dodgy stuff in this area in Nice. So the magistrate got those police officers out of the room, And then, again, according to him, but that's pretty much what happened, Spigeri just said to the judge, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he jumped. He jumped out of the fourth floor window. He ended up on the floor. He jumped on the scooter and he was gone. So he became a fugitive. He first went to Italy, but he didn't hide very much. He actually loved the attention because he was like a likable villain, really. You know, he was a bit of a hero because he had managed the biggest heist of the century, and a bit like you might remember when we did a tour down in Stockwell. We talked about Ronnie Biggs in London from the train robbery. Biggs he had gone to Australia and then to Brazil. Well, there was a bit the same with Spigeri. He first went to Italy, then he went to Latin America as well. He loved Argentina. But he needed money, so he gave a lot of interviews, exactly like Ronnie Biggs, actually. So that was a bit like taking the piece out of the police, because the journalist had no problem finding him, but the police couldn't get him, you know. And for many years, he's living abroad, he's publishing books, he's giving interviews. At first, he didn't really go into great details into how he had done it. And then he gave interviews when he's very theatrical, you know. He comes out with sunglasses and a fake beard to look a bit different, but you could easily recognize him if you knew him. And the guy became a bit of an icon. Eventually, though, he died in Italy. He remarried. He actually managed to marry with, you know, he had fake papers and stuff. He went under the name of Clement. And he died of a throat cancer. They brought his body back secretly, back down to Hyères, where his mother buried him in Hyères. It's about an hour and a half from here, really. And that was it. Oh, exactly. Thank you, Eva. Yes. Well, if indeed it is Spigeri, he was a wedding photographer, or a photographer in general, event photographer. But so he died. He's still considered as the brain of the operation and everything. And guess what? A few years later, there's another guy, another criminal from Marseille, that published, I don't know if it was meant to be a novel, or he published something in which he claimed to be the brain of the operation. And his name is Jacques Cassandre, and he was found guilty. Well, he was found guilty. It's actually a tricky one. In France, we've got something called prescription. In English, I guess you'd say limitation, but I don't know what it's like in the US or in Canada, but in the UK, major crimes, you don't get limitation. In France, you do. Even rape, even murder, there's a different limitation period for different crime. But this kind of heist, you definitely have a limitation. So that means that after let's say 20 years, if there's no new elements or nothing, basically you cannot be judged again after a certain time, which can nowadays be extremely frustrating. For example, you might hear of Dominique Pellico, the new major rapist. I mean, he probably was a serial killer in the 90s, but because the prescription or limitation, you might say, was created at a time when, you know, we had very little forensics. So most of the convictions would be made on eyewitness, you know, statements. And the justice system believed that after 20 years or 30 years, whatever the date is, those eyewitnesses would not be reliable anymore. And fair enough, you know. But nowadays, we've got forensics, we've got everything. So people argue that that prescription shouldn't exist anymore. We've got a big case at the moment in France. It's a singer. His name is Patrick Bruel. He was huge. He was a superstar. He still is a superstar. Suddenly you have over 30 ladies accusing him of the R word on sexual assault and everything. And a lot of them cannot be tried because of the prescription. I mean, so yeah, some people find it very frustrating, but some crimes cannot be tried after a certain period. So the Jack Cassandre could not actually be tried for the heist, but he got tried for money laundering. So later on, he had to clean the money from the heist, and he was actually found guilty. He was sentenced to I think 13 months in prison, so not much. And as he was tried, he claimed it was so basically he went under a pen name, he went under D'Amigo, and he wrote the full story. But then he said, no, that was a novel, I've made it up for his own defense. But obviously that didn't work. So the other guy, Spaggiari, that took all the credit for many years and that was ready to be caught and to be tried, was probably not even. He might have been involved, but even if he was involved, he wasn't the big guy. He wasn't the brain. So he just wanted to be some kind of a hero or a bad hero. Hi, Laurie, and welcome everyone that just joined. So we are about to go back on the seaside, really. Now, there's another murder, same period of history actually. The mayor and the magistrate was the same, and as I told you, they were a bit dodgy at the time. The mayor was a guy called Médecin. He was the mayor for many years, but some people think he was corrupted, and to be honest, you don't stay in power for that long if you're not corrupted anyway. But anyway, in 1977, there was a terrible disappearance here. It was a young lady, I think she was 26, Agnès Leroux, a beautiful lady, a beautiful girl, very rich as well. She was one of the heiress of a huge casino here called Casino Palais de la Méditerranée. So it was a casino. Oops, I'm sorry, I've just cut the cable because I'm very sweaty. You see, the microphone cable keeps sticking to my arms. Anyway, we'll go and see a building down the street called Palais de la Méditerranée. It is now back to being a casino, but the casino actually had to close because of the case, or indirectly because of the case. What happened is you had two major casinos in Nice at the time, the Palais de la Méditerranée and another one. The other one was run by a guy called Frattoni, according to some, mafia. But who knows? Anyway, Frattoni managed the other one and he had some shares. The rest of it belonged to Mrs. Leroux, so Agnes's mother. And her part was actually shared into different shares, her and her kids. They inherited it. They were a very rich family. They had all the casinos in Monaco as well and all that. And what happened is Frattoni wanted to get his hands on the casino, and the Mrs. Leroux did not want that because she did not want to sell anything to the mafia. Although she knew it was a bit of a losing game for her, she completely refused. And her lawyer, or ex-lawyer, eventually started to date Agnes, her daughter. The lawyer was a guy called Maurice Anglais, a very dodgy lawyer. What happened is Anglais treated Agnes quite badly. I mean, he probably was only dealing with her because he wanted something from her. Oops, I'm sorry, I keep getting the cable stuck to my arms. So if you see the camera moving, that's me on the cable. So yeah, Anglais started an affair with Agnes, and most of Agnes's friends would know that she was probably far more in love with him than he was with her. And he was married anyway, and he had another mistress. I don't know whether she knew about the other mistress, but he was married. And he was much older as well. He was about 12 years older than her. And eventually, it looks like he convinced her to vote against her mother. So they were going to have a vote at the casino about selling the shares and everything. So she basically voted against her mum. So her mum lost the control of the casino. And are we really sure? I'm in France. You haven't seen one mime yet. Mime? What type of mime, Marty? So yeah, he wanted a share of. She voted against her mum. She actually got 3 million paid by Frattini to vote against her mother, and then people had heard that she was going on a little trip. At least her friends. She had told her friends that she was going to go away. But the thing is, what we now think happened is that she asked Maurice Anglais, the lawyer, to go with her for a weekend away. Anglais already had planned anyway. He was going with his other mistress to Genova, or allegedly he was. And that's the building. So that's the Palais de la Méditerranée. It's a funny one because if you looked at the first floor, you'll see you've got some different windows inside. So that's an example of what we call facadism. You see a lot of it in the UK. You don't really see it in France usually. It's because of Mrs. Leroux, the mother. She's the one that managed to get the facade listed, so it couldn't be destroyed because the mayor and Frattini had some views on the building. They wanted to make it something else. Anyway, eventually the mother lost all the control on the casino. Frattini took over the casino and he actually ruined it. What he did mainly is, at the time you have those regulars coming to play massive amounts of money, and they don't need the cash. Usually, officially they do, but the casinos, at least this one, would write it down and get them to pay later, and so this way they'd keep their regulars, and they'd lose a lot of money. And as soon as he was in charge, Frattini stopped doing that. So he lost all his customers. They all went to the other casino that was ruled by Frattini. So the casino actually went bankrupt. So the mother, Mrs. Leroux, that was rich, certainly wasn't that rich anymore. And she's the one that first reported her daughter missing. But at the time, an adult has the right to disappear. And she had told a few friends that she was going away for the weekend. And Anglais, so the boyfriend, the lawyer, was like, she's fine, she must have gone on a little holiday. So it actually took 4 months until the police really looked into it. The thing with Agnes is that she had been depressed and she had tried to unalive herself before that, twice. Anglais, the boyfriend lawyer, was not massively helpful. Twice he called the ambulances, but he gave them the wrong address. Oopsie, wrong address. Anyway, so when she went missing again, some people would say, well, she's probably managed this time. And so yeah, it took a while until the police looked into it. Eventually the police raided her flat. They could see she had not been there for many weeks, because all the mail, by the door, I didn't notice those. See those blue chairs? You've got the same in Cannes. It's like a public bench, but you can just move them on. And those ones, I think they are attached. Yeah, those ones are attached. Sometimes you can just move them on because you might want to be in the shade, you might want to be in the sun. So that's quite cool. Anyway, so Uh, the girl is missing. People are finally starting to get worried. But she was a very independent young girl. You know, even her brother was like, yeah, she could have gone away and not tell us, but she would not leave us for many weeks and months with no news, you know. And the mother was convinced that it was the mafia, it was Anglais with Fratoni and with the Meyer medicine, that because they had some plans for the casino, they paid her to vote against the mother, and then they wanted the money back, so they just eliminated her. And her car was gone as well, and it was not a small car, it was a big 4x4 that was not that common at the time, you know, a big white 4x4 that was never seen again. And when the police came into her flat, obviously she had not been there for a while, there was a letter that had been written by her hand that stated, "That's the end of my way, it's all good, I want Maurice to take care of everything." So this really does look like she's saying goodbye, right? And so the police was confused again. They were like, "Oh, did she just take her own life?" You know. But then what about the car? I mean, it's very difficult to get rid of a car, you know, a 4x4. And this is mafia stuff, you know. They make the cars disappear. Anyway, the mother never gave up. The police did arrest Anglais, but the magistrate, the juge d'instructeur, he was like, "Oh, don't ask him any questions, just ask him his version." We know now that both of them were actually Masons, Frank Masons, you know, so that probably was a bit of Masonic help. Anyway, the Freemason magistrate kind of kept it cool for Anglais for a few years, but then he was asked to move to a different area. So there's a new magistrate that came along, and she reopened everything. So at first they just didn't have much against Anglais, but when they came to raid his office, they found a photocopy of the so-called suicide letter, the one where she said, "Oh, it's the end of my way, it's all good," but there was a date at the top. That was actually from weeks earlier when she had tried the first time. So he had basically, or it looked like he had, cut off the date and then placed it there to pose it as a suicide. And why would he have a copy of it in his office? He claimed that she had given it to him, and you know, blah blah blah. But it looked very bad for Anglais. But that's all they had against him. And eventually he was found not guilty. He built himself an alibi. He claimed he was in Genova with his other mistress, and she confirmed it at that point. Then a few years later he was tried again, but only for the financial matters, because her money had been placed, so the money she got from the casino, the potential mafia guy Fratoni, had been placed on an account in Switzerland, and he had taken the money. So after she'd gone missing, her money was taken by him. So he was found guilty of dodgy dealing in front of money, but they couldn't catch him for murder. He moved to Canada, then he moved to Panama, he married another lady, and then eventually when the new magistrate came on board, she started from day one again, but we're talking years later. And she decided to re-interview all the witnesses, and the girlfriend that had become the wife, that was now the ex-wife, she admitted that she had lied for him. She built him an alibi, pretending to be in Genova with him when he wasn't. Then Fratoni managed to get the hotel to give them to sign that. The thing is, the hotel on the logging book only one person would sign. So if you looked at the book, it looked like everyone was alone, when it's very unlikely that a hotel on the lake in Genova has so many visitors being alone. So they still had nothing against him. He was freed again. He lived his life in Panama. When many years later, so we're talking nearly 37 years later, his son, so he had two sons from his first, or maybe three, from his first marriage. His son actually decided to finally tell the police that his dad, when the boy was 16, his dad had told him that he had killed her in Italy and he had disposed of the body in Italy. And finally, it is this witness statement that finally got him convicted. So he was jailed 20 years in 37 years after the event. And it's actually quite rare to have a conviction for murder when you don't have a body, because we still don't know where Anglais was placed, you know, or hidden or burned, or we just don't know. So that's quite a sad story, but at least he got convicted at the end. Some people would still argue his innocence today. He's dead now. He was released in 2020 and he died in 2021. And but yeah, so that's the murder of the wars of the casinos. So the casino had closed for many years. It became a hotel, and now they've recently reopened a casino inside. Now I've got another sad story for you, but what we'll do is we won't go all the way. I'll show you where that is, and then I'll show you a little video, because my original plan was to go all the way, but then this afternoon when it was so hot, it's not too bad anymore. I don't know why my phone is still telling me it's overheating, because really it's not that bad. But anyway, it's probably still better to stay on the seaside, have a little bit of fresh air to cool down all the phone and the gimbal, rather than going all the way up to the train station in the tiny streets that might be a bit warmer. Yeah, exactly. Well, Marty, his son turned on him, but only one of them. The other son and the first wife, they're like, he's lying. They're claiming that the son is lying. I mean, it's very unlikely, but you know, it's only one. It's the voice of one person against another. Now, let's go down this way. There's a little bar, if it's still open, a little like juice place, but if it's still open, I'll show you what it says, because they have a little sign that's very funny. Yeah, I think they're still open. I'll show you the sign. Actually, let's see if you can guess. Entrée interdite aux râleurs. Sarah, you're not allowed to guess. The rest of you can guess. So it says, entry forbidden to, what could be a râleur? Let me know in the chat. What do you think a râleur is? The max temperature today, Sarah, was probably 35 here. So it's not too bad compared to some part of the countries like Nantes and Laval were at 42. So anyway, what is a râleur? Don't use ChatGPT. I don't even know if we don't even have a translation like exactly, Mitzi. Exactly. It's a grumpy complain addict. A grumpy complain addict. That's a râleur. Exactly. Someone complaining a lot. The blue nomad. Now we'll go back on the beach just because it's a bit nicer. But the building I'll tell you about in a sec is actually all the way down. So if you walked 10 minutes down, towards the train station. That's where you'll find the building. But again, just in terms of temperature, we're better off not going. So I'll show you makes sense to rail against something. So yeah, anyway, I'll show you the building. Sadly, that was the place where a lady called Loana lived. Loana, she was the first reality TV star in France. So she was the first person to be famous for absolutely nothing. You know, until 1999 to be precise, people would be famous for something. You know, there might be a politician, there might be an actor, there might be a singer, there might be a journalist, there might be a forecast lady on TV, whatever it might be. But 1999, we had a show called Big Brother in the Netherlands, where they put, I don't know, 12 people or however many that was in a house, and they'd be filmed 24/7. So that's 1999. 2000, they did the UK one, Big Brother. They did the Spanish one, Gran Hermano. They did the Italian one. France was not ready. 2001, they did the French one. They didn't call it Big Brother. They took a slightly different twist. They called it Loft Story. I guess that was a pun on love story, because they lived in a loft, so Loft Story. And it wasn't exactly a dating show, but they did kind of talk about getting 11 singletons inside and see what happens. Loana, when she applied to go, she actually was looking for love. There's been a lot of interviews of her. She said she was going there to find a partner. So that's the year 2000. I've not actually seen the show because at the time I lived in France, but not on the mainland. I lived in New Caledonia, so that's a French island in the Pacific. We did not have Channel 6. And I can tell you, we hated it because everyone talked about it. There were actually protesters in front of the TV studios because they were like, free the chicken. But in New Caledonia, we were so jealous because we could see clips in the news and stuff, but we couldn't watch the show because we didn't have Channel 6. The next season, the season 2 of Love Story, we had Channel 6, or we had the program at least, and we had a contestant that was from New Caledonia. But yeah, so I've not lived it, but apparently it was absolutely huge. Loana was a lady from here, from Nice. Well, a girl. She was a bit, the only way we could describe her is like a fragile bimbo. She worked here in Nice as a go-go dancer. So some kind of not really like a full striptease artist, but you know, like a sexy dancer in the nightclubs. She had a very difficult childhood. Her dad was violent, her mother was depressed, the daddy was a worker from Italy that had problems with alcohol and was beating up the mother, and she would try to protect her, and then he would have a go at her. Then eventually she moved out, and then she moved back with her mother, and she had been very badly treated by boys as well. Now she had fallen pregnant, so this is the front of the Palais de la Méditerranée. You can see that the inside is modern because it's back to Mrs. Leroux, we talked about her earlier. She had managed to get the facade listed, so at least they couldn't do anything they wanted with the building. Very smart lady. Anyway, back to Loana. She had a very difficult start in life, and she fell pregnant when she was young. Well, not so young. She probably would have been like 19 or 20, but she had no money. She wasn't with the father, and she realized a bit too late. So it was already illegal in France to have an abortion. So she went to Spain, where you can do it a bit longer. But she actually went to Spain, and then she was like, "Oh no, I cannot go ahead with this." So she changed her mind, and she then had the baby, but she kind of gave the baby to social services. she had agreed with them that the baby would have, the baby was called Mindy, that she would have a host family and she could go and visit every so often. And after a while, she stopped visiting because the little Mindy didn't really want to see her anymore, as simple as that. So yeah, very difficult life. That's when she saw, her mother actually saw an ad looking for 11 singletons to take part in a TV show, looking for love, blah, blah, blah. She applied. It's quite hard to tell whether the production team knew of how fragile she was. I think they knew. I think that's why she was taken, because they wanted very different profiles, and she was so different looking. She looked like a very self-confident bimbo, when actually she was a very fragile girl. Let me show you pictures of Loana. So obviously the one to the right is the early one. She changed quite dramatically through her life. So anyway, she did the show, and one of the very first days she ended up having sex in the swimming pool with one of the contestants on camera. Although she would argue that the sex didn't happen in the swimming pool but in the toilets later on. But anyway, whatever. But then she was dumped. People loved her for that, because she was in love, and she was so fragile, and the personality didn't really match the physical profile. And people loved her or hated her, but they loved her so much that she won the show. So she won, I think that was like 300,000 euros plus a villa in Saint-Tropez. And so you'd think she'd have the best start in life. You know, she's famous, she's got money, but she was surrounded by nasty people that do you think it was her or the Blue Normand? So yeah, she was she had everything to be happy, but clearly she wasn't, and she was surrounded by very bad people that nicked a lot of her money, got her into drugs. She was later on diagnosed as bipolar as well, so she was given some drugs for that. Those drugs actually made her put on weight quite dramatically. And honestly, people were nasty with her. And I've been the witness of that myself, because I used to work as a photographer next to Saint-Tropez. At the time, she had a villa down there. And that's when she had put on a lot of weight. I never actually met her myself. But every time she was in the restaurant, because, you know, the workers on those touristy spot, we all know one another, and they would come, we'd go for a drink after their shift, and they'd be like, oh, Loana was there again. She's obese, she's disgusting, she's so horrible, she's because it was such a contrast with the beautiful young girl she used to be. But yeah, people were horrible with her in person, but also in the press, you know, because obviously when you're very rich and famous for nothing, you kind of generate a bit of jealousy, you know. And she became a bit of an object of voyeurism to an extent. You know, she'd be invited into TV shows when sometimes she was drugged up, she was not even able to sorry, I'm getting distracted because I can see that my gimbal needs to be what do you call it? The horizon is not straight. It's bothering me. Anyway, back to Loana. She went into she lived a life of depression and addictions. Really, she became very poor. She lost everything. Actually, the flat that was here. Let me show you the video of the apartment. There it is. So I've just filmed that about an hour ago now. It's just about 10 minutes from here. See, the name is still on the. Her name is still on the. Yeah, the flat was the building was open, so I went into the letterboxes just to check that it was, and her name was still there. So she was Loana Petrucciani, but she was known as Loana, and she died in there. She was found dead in there 2 months ago. We don't know the full story. I mean, it had been many years that people were saying she was gonna die out of addictions or overdose, and she had tried to take her own life a few times as well. She had gone into several comas, but she was never supported after the, you know, we've changed quite dramatically our views on reality TV. Nowadays you get so many psychologists, you know. I mean, I've been on TV for 10 minutes on The Undateables. I had access to free psychologists for 12 years. I shit you not, 12 years. They've sent me a letter it was about 5 years ago now, saying that I was not going to have access to the psychologist anymore. I mean, I never went to see them, but you know, now anytime anyone does any type of reality TV, they really take very good care of their mental health, because we know how rough it can be to suddenly find yourself in the limelight. And it's even worse nowadays with the internet and all the nasty comments you can get everywhere, you know, on social media and in the big media as well. Anyway, when she died, well, that didn't help. I mean, some people were still mocking her in the press. We've got a newspaper called Charlie Hebdo. They did a terrible caricature of her. That was horrible. And by the way, her daughter Mindy was exposed to the press as she was into the love story, because when she applied, there was on the form there was a spot that said, "Do you have any children in your household?" She put down no, because she didn't. As far as she was concerned, the little girl had been given away. And then as she was into the TV program, her aunt actually sold the info to the press. So she was outed as a bad mother that abandoned little Mindy. Mindy never really, she spoke to the press many years later, but she never really wanted to have anything to do with her mother. She didn't come to the funeral as far as we know. So yeah, a very tragic life that really shows how, you know, fame and money doesn't help, you know, or in some cases it really doesn't. They in front of the apartment for a few days, but today there was nothing left. And that happened not long ago. That happened in March, I think, maybe even April. So just over 2 months ago now, she was found dead. Apparently, according to the autopsy, there was no drugs, but the family probably wouldn't say if there was anyway. The internet tried to investigate. She was fairly openly bisexual. She had been seeing a girl for the last 2 months, and people started to accuse that girl of having pushed her. When the girl eventually had to, she did a voice note to the press saying that basically it wasn't her, and that it was very difficult to deal with someone with bipolar, and that Loana had left her a couple of weeks earlier anyway, so that she had nothing to do with it and everything. But there's always been a lot of people supporting her on the internet, but also some people criticizing her big time. And when she was invited on TV for many years, it was mainly because people were curious of seeing how low can one get, you know. So yeah, it's been a very sad story, because everyone knew it was going to end badly one day, but no one could really. Well, it's not the place of the media or the TV productions to try to save her, you know. But no one did. Anyway, on this very sad note, this is gonna be the end of the tour. Let's go and get a little bit closer to the sea so we can be in the sun. And I'm glad that we've managed to go down that far despite the phone overheating. My phone is still telling me the device is too hot. Use the overheating protection setting. Oh, hold on. I have a protection setting. But how do I get the protection setting? I don't see a setting button. Anyway, we've survived now. Let me show you the coast from the sun. I'm probably gonna go for a last little swim before to go to the airport, which means I'm gonna be soaked at the airport, but at least I won't stink. I've got my flight tonight at 11:45. The airport is just down there, so it's not too far. Yes, exactly. Well done, my little phone, and RIP Loana. Right, let me know if you have any questions for me. If any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee or anywhere, it's very much appreciated. It is really thanks to your generosity that I can keep going and do research and spend some time on the prep as well. Yes, back home, Natalie. Yeah, I'm flying home tonight, and I'm gonna have a very short night because I have to wake up at 6 in the morning, and I'll probably get home about 3 a.m. because my flight is not until 1:45 midnight. Time to get from Stansted back to London. It's gonna be a short night. Thank you, Tish. Thank you, Ronnie. Thanks, Sylvie. Thanks, Sarah. And I'll be back tonight. And let me know if you have any questions. And if any of you were completely new to me, make sure you subscribe so you can see a bit more of me next time. I've not scheduled the next one yet, but I know where they'll be. They'll be in London. They'll be Royal Dark Tales. So we'll go back towards Buckingham Palace and all that. Yes, I'm flying tonight. Right, thank you guys. Have a great evening or a great morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. And hopefully I'll see you back in London next week. Bye bye.